Hi, we're back. A little teaching video from Stott's Fine Art. I've got this textured canvas. I did a short on just how to texture a canvas. I don't know if you can see this random texture from your viewing angle, but anyway, we got a texture with a gel from golden gel. And these techniques work whether you've got just a regular canvas without texturing or with one with texturing. So I've got somewhat of a model piece back over here that I did quite a while ago, and we won't do that exact piece, but we'll use it as an example just to show you kind of where we're heading. And so the first thing I want to do, and we're going to do this in segments, I'm not going to do the whole painting here. I'll do steps and demonstrate it. And so first thing I do is just get a little bit of charcoal and do a small charcoal, minimal charcoal sketch, and rather use charcoal than pencil. Pencil can have some acid in the graphite, so I'd rather use some fine charcoal. And so always first thing I think of is what kind of composition do I want when I'm planning a painting, and I'll kind of stick with this one. I think I'm going to want a bigger sky and a lower horizon line. You can loosely think of this as like thirds on your canvas, thirds this way, thirds this way, and rather than something right in the middle. Usually an asymmetrical composition is a little more interesting. You don't have two equal areas competing against each other. So first thing, just get my little bit of a just horizon line here, and I like to keep things really sketchy and loose from the beginning, not get it too tight. So when I do a horizon line, and a lot of lines I do more, they're really just segments, broken lines, and that keeps with a nice soft feel, loose feel from the beginning. And in this case, I think I'll put, instead of the farmhouse, let's go something different. Maybe more of a three-quarter view of a barn, and we'll do kind of a big style where you have the double roof slope, and very typical in all across America. And okay, then we got a little bit of perspective coming back here, and okay, so we've got a nice little barn shape. And even though this is really a lesson on painting, there's always some drawing in a painting in most cases, and I won't go into perspective. You can get bogged down when you're trying to concentrate on the painting using acrylic paint and the techniques. There's a lot of good tutorials on drawing perspective on YouTube, or probably the easiest way to access them, and you can look up that and just get some good examples of perspective. And when you start putting in some human-made objects like a building, there's going to be a perspective. They're going to go to a vanishing point, these lines, and so I'll just not go any deeper into it. Just if you have a little problem with that, or if you're new to that, look into perspective drawing, and I'll just leave it at this would be like a 2-point perspective. You've got a vanishing point out here, all these lines. When you get off to the edge of a building at an angle, meaning you're not looking flush at it like this painting back here. We're kind of looking just flush right at that, just right in the middle. You don't see any of the sides of it, so there's really no perspective. Here we're at, more at the corner, so you see some, and so you're going to have, if you had a line here, it would be going down just a bit, and these lines are going out to some vanishing point somewhere out there, and so you can learn on that just looking at YouTube's got some great perspective drawing lessons. Okay, so we've got the barn here. Usually there's a pretty large door at front, and that's one way you can scale your drawing, how big you want to make this. If you make the door a little smaller, it's going to make that barn look bigger, but there's usually a little loft door up here, and there'll be some shadow up there, so we're just again, we're just outlining the main parts of it in the charcoal right now, and then let's put some foliage, trees, background trees here. And maybe somewhere just out in this area and along here. I'll just kind of stick with the background on that, somewhat similar. Some smaller background trees, and then a little bit bigger one out here, and just any of that will do. And I'm not going to put any water in this one with reflections. I'm just going to have some land in the foreground here. And okay, you've got a little charcoal drawing here. So I remember I went to UCO, Central Oklahoma, years ago, and my painting teacher had us all start with a little charcoal drawing, and being a bunch of art students, we really spent some time on that charcoal drawing, and I don't even remember what the subject was, but we spent quite a bit of time. He just gave us time, and then he said, okay, are you happy with your charcoal drawings? It was an oil painting class, and everybody said, yeah, we like them. And he said, okay, now just cover them up. And he was just making a point. There's no need to spend an inordinate amount of time. You're really just trying to get your composition and your scale down. In this case, I didn't want to get this barn too big on the page. I want to keep it somewhat smaller. And what I'm really trying to capture is the vastness of the landscape. If anything, I might have wanted this to be a little smaller, create a little more of a vastness here. Now that's one reason I'll use charcoal. You can, just to start off, if you decide, well, I want to scale that down, you can get it off somewhat and bring it down. So why don't we just do that, just an example of you can always make these little changes, and with acrylic it's very user friendly. You can make changes just about at any time, but this first charcoal drawing is just good for getting those mistakes out of the way when you've just invested a few minutes of your time in it before you have to go back and make more changes. So let's just say we wanted to do that. Make this a little smaller. So there, you see, it just scaled it down just a bit. And so I'll scale that down. And we've got You can see the old line there. Now, even if we'd done it in some permanent mark, we can still just bring it right down as because we're using an opaque medium here with acrylic, and as opposed to watercolor. With watercolor, it's pretty tough, if not impossible, to take dark lines out of it. You need to be right the first time, and with acrylic, you've got a lot of any opaque medium. You've got a little easier time of it. So okay, we brought it back down a bit, and so what do we do now? We want to get into the painting phase. I always start, just again, keep it really simple at first, and every artist has their own palette. The papers or the pigments they use, and I always like to start with some raw sienna, some earthy colors, and some artists will just tone the whole canvas, put a tone before they even start painting or any charcoal. I usually will do the charcoal, and especially since I teach a lot, I just like to break things down. I tend to teach more beginning students and intermediate, and I like to break it down just to the bare bones and really dissect it and not assume any steps that someone's going to know, and really explain it, as I go. So I always start just a little raw sienna. Here's some Winsor Newton Galleria, and I'll just put a little dollop out there, and just remember that term dollop. That's a technical term artists use, highly technical, and you'll need to remember it for the written exam, the final, at the end of this series. So, okay, I'll get a little bit of raw sienna there, and at this point, I just want to kind of make permanent what that charcoal is I just did. So just loosely, just start tracing somewhat the steps of the charcoal, and purposely being getting it about the right place, but keeping it very loose, keeping the edges loose. I paint in, I guess we might as well talk about that a minute, an atmospheric style where everything is very soft. And I used to teach more, or not teach really, paint more photorealistically early in my career. And if I did a barn or an old farmhouse or an old truck or any object, I would usually fill the canvas with it. Like this barn would be just this big, and I would be putting in every nail head and crack and peeling paint, and I really loved to paint that way. I still love the results of that, but after many years of painting that way, artists, they get tired of the same thing, or they get a little burnt out. So I wanted to go to a looser impressionistic style where I was capturing just the vastness of the landscape. And so I scaled things down within that canvas, and kind of got my joy back in painting. This was quite a few years ago, made those changes, and I've been painting professionally for, 46 years, I think. And so you paint that long continually, you'll probably go through some changes and some phases. A lot of, if you watch or just read about artists, they tend to do that. If they have a long career, they'll just go through phases where they just want something new, and that's totally human, really. It's not just for artists, it's whatever you're doing, you kind of want some maybe some changes in a career or something, and of anything. And I do some abstract now. I've got a website, Stotts Fine Art, and you'll see now, besides these my normal landscapes, you'll see wildlife. You'll see some abstract pieces, and after many years, I just needed that, and most artists do. They need to add something. I usually don't quit what I'm doing. I just add something to it, and because I've always hated the thought of not creating something I was capable of doing, and just because I wanted to do something else, I try to do it all. I remember a saying. My grandmother passed down to my dad. My dad passed down to me. Said, if you want to get more done, turn your cot in for a lantern, meaning just work more hours, work at night if you have to, under a lantern's light. So, you need a work ethic in anything, and art is no different. So, I'm just continuing. See, we're just painting right into this charcoal. Now, the charcoal, I don't have a lot of charcoal on it. This texture doesn't hold the charcoal as much as like a regular canvas that just has the tooth of the canvas. This is like a little bit of a plastic acrylic coating, so it doesn't hold as much charcoal. It's still, though, with the charcoal I have, you can see it mixes with the paint, and it creates a little bit of a messy, dark line, but that's okay at the start. We're going to do a lot of layering to get this, to get the atmosphere and that softness. So early on, you don't really have to worry about, if something's a little messy or not quite right, or the charcoal's mixing and making it kind of a dirty brown. It doesn't matter. You're going to be doing several layers to get that softness and that atmospheric style. And you see, I'm being pretty loose as far as these lines, big, thick, heavy lines that aren't particularly the right scale. They're a little too big, really. But again, we've got this opaque style, so we can clean those up. Each layer, we'll clean it up, we'll polish it. So all we're trying to do now is just establish a permanence, get some paint on here. And I was a watercolorist for many years, still do some watercolor. And there, you just, you can be loose with that too, but in certain ways. If you want to outline, say, this barn, I wouldn't put big black or dark heavy lines up there. I would just do some very light pencil sketching to keep that pencil would keep those lines thinner and more delicate. Then when I got to painting, I'd have a cleaner edge. Here, it doesn't matter because I can clean it up with opaque paint. And okay, so let's get some more these trees. Now, also with this, maybe you can see the texturing that I've got. It's got a random, very pronounced texture. I did this a little texture video as a short, less than a minute, with this golden, and put it on with the palette knife yesterday. So you can look that up if you want to. But I'll show you. Maybe I'll go lightly over this and help it bring it out for the camera. Let's see. You see, as I go over that, you see the low parts. You know, I didn't press enough to fill those in. You can see it brings out all these random textures, and those are nice. It's just a different surface to paint on. A lot of it's just for my own enjoyment, just to change the surface. And some of it just creates a different look, and it's not really a better look or a worse look, just different. And you know, if you want to fill in those low points, then you just grind it in. So you just grind it in, and then something too that you can do with this, and you can do this with even the light texture of a canvas, and you know, just the tooth of the canvas, it has a texture. And you can, but any of this you can also lift paint. I'll show you. And this all creates layers. We'll do more layers. It creates interesting textures, interesting looks. So let that dry just a second. And then so you go over it, and it's like antiquing. It'll take the ridges, the paint off them, but leave it in the low spots. So I'll show you here. See, it brings out, makes lighter because you're taking pigment off, but on the highs, the lows retain. Now you could press harder, you know, and get into those lows and just completely take everything off. And it's because it's not totally dry yet. It won't do that when it's fully dry. So it's just, I like to play along the way when I paint. You know, lift things, even if I'm not going to keep it that way. I like to enjoy my painting and just be loose with it. It kind of gives you a sense of confidence, just anywhere you want to put something. And you know, well, I'm going to do layers, so I'm going to do layers to build up this atmosphere, the softness. You can see how the softness, the soft edges, and a lot of that softness is created by thin layers on top of some opaque layers, and creates kind of a somewhat of a fog or a vapor, and it's really just distance. You're creating an illusion of something is way back there. It's atmospheric. There's atmosphere over it because it's in the distance. And okay, so we'll just continue. It's pretty just really loose at this point, and I'll get across here. And the next step, I'll save that for the next little video. We're going to do just a big wash over the top of all this, and it'll have some water in it, so you'll see all this kind of bleed through. And eventually we'll introduce some darks and then some lights, and we'll go into more opaque layers. So let me just quickly run across this. It looks very simple. This is it's unfinished though. It's so we will polish it as we go. We'll straighten it up. We'll, you know, bring together things that need to be polished a bit as we do these layers. And right now it's just a block in, you know, just a block in phase, and it's kind of it's just a real looseness to it. And I like to start a painting this way, just very loose, kind of just have a feeling of confidence, a feeling like I can't fail at this painting. I'm just, I can do whatever I want to it, and I can come back and I can fix that. With these it's just simple techniques, you have some power. You can create some emotion with this softness. I've had, remember a gallery in Santa Fe that I used to be in. They're retired now. But it was after the 9/11 attacks, and they said they had a lady in that was looking at some of my work. This was, you know, way back. 23 years ago, and there was just this soft look to it, and the nation was kind of in shock, and she began to kind of cry a little bit, and I wasn't there, but they told me about it, and they said they just checked on her like anyone would, and she said, no, I'm okay. I just, all of a sudden I feel peaceful looking at this painting, and I haven't felt at peace lately, and so that's the first time, one of the times I kind of realized I may be onto a nice style here if it's touching people's emotion. So I've adopted it as my main style. Like I said, I do other things. This is probably my go-to style. It's like a pitcher, he has that one go-to pitch to get him out of a jam, a fastball or a great with a curve. This is kind of my go-to style, this soft atmospheric style. And so anyway, we got a nice little start here. We got some paint on the canvas. We've got a loose outline of what we want to do. We've made it permanent. We've got first layer of paint on there, so we'll stop with that, and then the next day or two I'm trying to do more with my online teaching. I've become somewhat of I'm almost reluctantly a professional teacher in Norman, Oklahoma, and Edmond, Oklahoma, at the Edmond Fine Art Institute and Norman Firehouse Art Center, and started that about 12 years ago. Just thought, well, I'll try teaching. I'm getting older. Maybe I can pass a few things along, and it's lasted 12 years, and kind of adding more classes to it. And so I guess naturally, now that computers are everywhere and YouTube seems to be a good medium, I thought, well, I'll try some YouTube teaching. If you've seen any of my stuff, I'm just kind of new at this. You see, most I just show my work. I maybe have a little music, or I may tell a little bit about it. And I've had a few little tutorials that never really stuck with anything. So I thought, well, maybe I'll make an attempt to pass along some of these techniques. And I think one of the main things I'm getting out of this is the feeling like I'm giving something. There's a lot of people retiring nowadays, and it's not just for retirees, but for anybody. But a lot of people are looking for things to do, and I thought I do it as a profession, but I do it really because I love it. I always have, and I could maybe pass along something that gives somebody something to look forward to when they get out of bed every morning, and maybe they hadn't thought about becoming a painter, but these techniques, with a little practice, anybody can do them, and I can show you how to do them, and you can create some interesting pieces. And then everybody's brain works differently, their hands are different. You'll come up with something on top of this or a tangent off of this, and maybe this will just be a catalyst to kind of get you rolling in your career, and just as a pastime, or maybe you might even sell some sometime. So anyway, we'll stop with that. Thanks for tuning in. I guess if I'm going to make anything out of this, I'm going to have to do what I hear everybody else is like and share, or maybe a comment if you want to. And so anyway, that's it from Stott's Fine Art, and maybe someday I'll get a little more technical on some of the cameras. I've just got the one phone there. I see all these little shots from different YouTubers, and I'm like, wow, how do they do all that? That's pretty interesting. And maybe I'll get into that, maybe not. I like to focus on my painting, and hopefully this will be good enough, but we'll see. So anyway, thanks, and we'll talk to you later.